Hey everyone, welcome to ReBloom, the podcast where we explore the power of change, rediscovery, and living with intention.
That's right. We're your hosts, Lori and Jamie, two friends who really love a good story about transformation.
In each podcast, we're going to chat with inspiring guests who've made bold pivots in their lives or careers. They've let go of what no longer served them to embrace something more authentic, joyful, and true to who they really are.
And the best part, many of them reconnect with passions or dreams they discovered as kids. It's about finding the seeds planted long ago and letting them bloom again.
So if you're ready for real conversations about reinvention, purpose, and following your creative heart, you're in the right place.
Let's dive in and see what it takes to rebloom. So Jamie, a couple of months ago when we were talking, you were telling me that you had the most beautiful person renting downstairs from you, Denyce. And I didn't realize how incredibly beautiful this person was until I saw her in person. When you see her, she lights up. And when you watch her teach, it's the most inspirational talk I've heard in a very long time. Watching her inspire her students is magical. I'm taking so much away from that morning session as well as our chat today.
Yeah. Listeners, you are in for the most amazing conversation. I am blessed to have a summer house guest, Denyce Graves Montgomery. She is beautiful in heart and spirit, inside and out. Her voice is incredible, but more than that, she is helping future generations and connecting them and teaching with them and inspiring them so that opera and their beautiful talents will carry on. And this is just a beautiful conversation, and we hope that you will enjoy it. It's a special one, our first together.
Our first live.
And we thank you all for joining us. And please have a great listen, and please take a look at Denyce Graves Foundation and all her beautiful work. Well, hey, Lori, how are you?
Oh my God, Jamie, I'm here live in Chautauqua with you.
We
What?
are live, and guess who we're welcoming? Hello, Denyce Graves Montgomery. How are you today?
Thrilled to be here with you, fabulous gals.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, for our listeners.
Wait, can I say one thing first?
Yes.
We just came from a master class that Denyce gave, and it blew our minds.
Yes.
So to be sitting here and learning more about her, I just can't wait for this conversation.
This conversation is going to blow everybody away. Denyce is a mezzo-soprano. She is an Emmy award-winning, Grammy award-winning singer. She has an incredible resume, including being on Sesame Street. So, I mean, from the Metropolitan Museum, or from the Met, in New York, to singing for presidents, to Elmo. I mean, come on. It's just everything and anything. And she's had a fabulous career, but like many of our guests, is beginning a pivot and beginning a change. And she is also reblooming. And Denyce, thank you and welcome to our podcast.
Oh, it's been a joy being here in Chautauqua, and the best part has been getting to know you, Jamie.
Oh,
Thank you for your welcome and your warmth and your effervescence, and you just are love. You just are love itself.
Well,
she is. She's the
thank
host
you.
with the most. She's been treating us like princesses this week.
yeah.
That
Well,
works.
and so for everybody, we are in Chautauqua, New York. We're in Chautauqua Institution, where Denyce is here all summer. And she is, she's helping the opera here. We have a beautiful opera. Lori is here for her first time visiting.
Yeah, because I'm hoping to teach here possibly,
Possibly.
or do a residency. We'll see. Once you're here,
You never want to leave.
Chautauqua is like being in a Hallmark movie or on a movie set. You're in fairyland. There's dollhouses I've never been in a place like it.
It's incredible. And so for us, this is a really fun first experience that we actually get to do this live. Denyce is my beautiful summer guest this year, and we have learned so much. I have learned so much about opera, and it has just been an amazing experience. And so let's get started. So Denyce, go ahead. Lori loves to ask this question.
I always have to ask this, as you know, if you listen. I always want to know about Denyce as a little girl. What was she like? Did she love music? Was that from early on?
I did. I loved music. Music was always in our home. I grew up in a very religious household. My father was a minister. My mother was very, very strict. We were not allowed to listen to anything outside of gospel music, so that's all we heard, except for some strange reason, a Perry Como album ended up there. And we had listened to all gospel and Perry Como. And Perry Como. So
exceptions for Perry.
That's right. There was that. But as a little girl, I was extremely shy, extremely withdrawn, and to myself. My brother and my sister were, I'm one of three in my family. My brother and my sister were sort of the hip ones, the very popular ones in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I was the kid that got picked on all the time. I was the one that got bullied all the time.
Same.
Yeah. And, I was the one who was in the corner reading or listening to music. And that's the kind of, I was very much withdrawn and in myself, as a little kid.
And you're a middle child.
I am.
I'm a middle child.
Oh, is that
also.
Right? Yeah.
And everything you're saying, I can so relate to.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that you went from that shy little girl to what you've done with your life.
Yeah.
So what turned things
did
around?
Did you start singing in church? I
did.
Singing. When did you recognize that you had a gift from God? Because you have a very special gift from God.
Thank you for saying that. So, two things. My family had a singing group.
Okay.
Because
what is that?
Okay, so my parents divorced early on, and we were mostly raised by my mom. And because my mother worked 3 jobs to support us kids, she organized our time after school. So we were sort of the original latchkey kids. We'd have to let ourselves out to go to school, walk to school, and come back home. But because she didn't want us to have a lot of idle time on our own, she would organize our activities for after school. So she designated each night of the week for something. So Monday night was book report night, and this was work we had to do for her. So she'd say, okay, Denyce, today you have to, she got the Britannica encyclopedias, remember?
Yeah.
And she said, you're going to read these. You're going to read them.
Wow.
And so she would give us these book reports. Once I had to do blue jays, or flowers or certain kind of things. And she would assign that. And Monday night was that. Tuesday night was sewing night. So she taught us how to sew. And my sister and I would make clothes for our dolls.
Yeah.
And you would never do this now, but we would repair the holes in our jeans.
Oh,
and
yeah,
in our
you would
socks.
do that now.
Now you sell them for a lot of money.
It's called upcycling. That's a big.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids want their whole
right.
jeans. And Thursday night was music night. And so she got us a little Casio keyboard, and we used to tinker around. We didn't know what we were doing. And we used to make up these little songs. And on Saturday, we would sing them for her. And so she said, we got kind of good at making up those little songs. She said, oh, you guys sound great. She said, it's a shame that nobody hears you. We should sing that in church. So we'd make up these little songs, and sometimes we sing little hymns and stuff, and then we would sing them on church. So we had a name. We were called the Inspirational Children of God.
Oh my
and
God,
that's who we were.
Love this.
And so on Sunday mornings, we would go and sing, at the offertory or whatever it was. Now, my brother, who has a beautiful voice, my sister too, but my brother has a really beautiful voice, sang all the solos. I was the kid that was always in the back behind my mom's skirt, Yeah. And one Sunday, my brother said he was sick. And my mother said, well, Denyce, you'll have to sing the solo. And I said, I can't possibly do that. There's no way I can do that. So you have to do it. And I don't know if you've ever been to a Baptist church, but when you're standing up there in front of the church, you love a Baptist church, right?
I do love a Baptist church.
They encourage you, and and you've got that's right, and there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and so that became my first audience, and so my mother didn't know, or maybe she did know what she was creating. I did it.
Did it? And
I did it.
How did you feel? Do you remember how you felt?
I was still scared, and I was still very nervous, and it took a long time still, but that was the breaking of the ice,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And seeing the positive response from the congregation. So fast forward.
Mhm.
Well,
Well, so your mom encouraged the music, and so
She did.
and so she encouraged you to go to school with music.
so no, so that's another story.
Yeah.
That's an important story that parallel to my mom. There were a lot of sort of guiding forces and angels in my life steering me on this path. I was this really shy kid.
Right.
And the first day of school, I just cried and I didn't want to be separated from my mother. And I cried the whole time until this woman, Judith Grove, who's still alive, started playing the piano and singing. And then I loved to go to school. So I would go to school and she would sit at this piano and play and sing. And I just thought she was amazing. And so that was kindergarten through 6th grade. And every once in a while, she'd give me like a little solo to sing, a couple of measures or something like that. When it was time to graduate there and go to junior high school, I went to this new experimental school without walls called the Friendship Junior High School. I'm walking down the hall one day. I run into her. Unbeknownst to both of us, she transferred from the elementary school there. I said, oh my goodness, what are you doing here? Oh my goodness, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. So she said, Denyce, you like singing. And here in Washington, I grew up in Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
we have what's called all city chorus. And so they gather all the kids from all the 4 quadrants and they form one choir. And then we would do concerts at Constitution Hall, that sort of thing. She'd come pick me up on Saturdays from my house, take me to rehearsal, stay with me, get me a little sandwich or whatever, and bring me back home. Exactly.
What an angel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then listen to what happened. So it's time to graduate junior high school. And she said, where are you going to go for high school? And I said, I don't know. And she said, well, you've got a pretty voice. And there's a performing arts high school in Washington called the Duke Ellington School of the Performing Arts. I think you should audition. So she got the application. We filled it out together. I did the audition. I got accepted. And she became the principal of the school.
Oh,
No.
wow.
No.
So that was truly, truly my guardian angel, this woman who set me on this path and guided me until I could start taking voice lessons formally and that sort of thing. And then discover opera and classical music and all these other genres that I wasn't allowed to hear, right? And then this whole new world opened up to me.
When did you discover opera? How old were you?
Oh, yeah, I was 13.
13? Yeah.
Wow.
So you're very
I was 13.
young. Yeah.
I was
It
13.
feels like a natural segue from gospel singing to opera to me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because gospel is big.
It's passionate.
It's
yeah.
big
Oh, I see what you see.
And it's passion.
Yeah.
And
I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, true. But to answer the question of when did I know, I was singing one of the great 24 Italian songs and arias. I was singing a song called Nina. And there was this guy in the school, Kelvin Page, and he was super popular. Everybody knew him. And he was an upperclassman. And I sang on a student recital, and he came up to me in front of everybody, and he said, oh, my God, like, who would have known that you had this voice? Because I was still a little shy kid. He said, where did you come from? Like, who knew that you had? But he said that in front of everybody.
Ooh,
and then I said, okay, right?
Now,
Look at me.
Watch my swagger.
Yeah, right.
No more shy. So
Yeah.
you leave the Duke Ellington School, and they obviously see some talent. And where do you head for college?
Before that, I went to Germany.
Oh.
I went to live with a German family. My German teacher, Gisela Severino, is an Italian name, discovered that I had a really good ear. She said, Denyce, you've got a really good ear and you've got a good ear for language. And I picked up language very quickly. So she said, there's an exchange program that she had just left the gymnasium in Germany, in Munich. And so it wasn't one of the big formal ones that they have now. It was just one that she wanted to start with, her colleagues in Germany. And so I went to Germany and I stayed and lived with a German family. And that was amazing. I mean, that was amazing.
How long was that?
6 months. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, it changed my life.
Wow.
And so after that, I decided, and my German host dad was an organist. He was a classical organist. And so they were big lovers and supporters of the opera. And I was in the opera, like, all the time. very often.
during that period.
During that period.
Wow.
Yeah, we went
Pick up German. Yeah, I'm sure.
I pick up German, start
come
speaking
back to
German.
the States.
I come back to the States. I decided I graduated early. I finished
Yeah.
high school early, and I decided to go to Oberlin College.
Yes. Wow. In Ohio.
In Ohio, that's right.
Same. I'm from
Same.
Ohio.
Is that
also.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I went there, and when I was there, I was asking the kids. When I came as a prospective student, I was asking the people, who is the hot voice teacher? Who's the one that everybody wants to study with?
Yeah.
And they told me this name, Helen Hodem. They said, but it's very hard to get into her studio. So this was back in the day. I wrote her a letter. I wrote her a letter and said that I was a prospective student. I was very interested in coming to Oberlin, and would she accept me in her studio? And she said she had to hear me first and all those things. She accepted me. I got into the really good voice teacher's studio, and she was super, super, super strict. She was from the old school, and she believed that you had to dress up for your lessons. She made the girls wear dresses or skirts and put yourself together. And because she said, this is your profession. And if you have to care about this, you have to care about what it is you do. And I don't want you walking in here with just like a T-shirt on and like ripped up jeans or whatever it was. You have to show some respect for what it is that you're doing and that you're learning. And so she made us dress up and prepare for those lessons.
So that's interesting, because when we were sitting in on your master class this morning, one of the very first things you said to the first student was, because he was a little on the shy side, and you said, you sing the moment you enter a room.
Yeah.
And you have that 3 minutes to make an impression on what you're all about with people. And that's going to stick with me forever.
It stuck with me, and it was interesting as a speech teacher too. He came in and he was shy and he was quiet. I couldn't hear anything he said. We were kind of sitting in the middle towards the back, and I thought, I don't know what this young man said. And Denyce, you said, come in, almost own the room from the minute you walk in. And this is, you are singing, you are part of this. And the more he went, the more he practiced with you, and he was scared, but he did it. It changed, and it changed the way he stood. It changed his posture. He was
demeanor.
holding on, shaking on the piano.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And then he moved away from it, and he started to sing in a bigger way. And you could hear it in his voice, because he kind of came out of himself. It was amazing.
Thank you for noticing all those details. Thank you so much.
The other thing I loved, and I learned so much about teaching by watching you. I loved how you were not easy on them. You were tough, but you always had a positive thing to say. And often you would grab their hand and support them. It was really beautiful.
I think it's important because it's so exposed. I mean, what we do is so vulnerable. And then you do that in a public forum like that. You examine and take their voices apart. And singing in front of your peers is just the worst. People are listening with real critical ears. And it's hard. It's not easy thing to get up there and do.
And they all did an amazing job. And your kindness as a teacher, which kind of wants me to, I almost want to pivot from your career, which is long and beautiful. But one of the things that I've learned from you and from the others that are with you this summer is that a singer has a career. There's a longevity, because your voice is a muscle, much like an athlete. And I never knew that. And so even as a singer with God-given talent and the things that you've done, you've been on TV, you've sung it, I mean, everywhere, every major opera house, you're just incredible. But you need to think about those pivots, and you are a teacher. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you started to think about within your career?
My voice teacher, Helen Hodem, who was a voice teacher at Oberlin College, she did something which she gave us so much. And I see every day still, as a woman in my 60s, all that she poured into us. I mean, sometimes it just comes out and I think, oh, that was her, or that was her voice, or that was one of her gifts. So one of the things that she did, she didn't allow us to practice on our own, because she said you can practice in bad habits, right? So she would assign an upperclassman so when we wanted to practice, she would assign an upperclassman, somebody in our studio who was working with her technique, to observe our practicing, to say, oh no, here you need to make sure that you expand your rib cage, or here you need to make sure that your diaphragm descends, or here you need to make sure that you lift your palate, or whatever it was. So she did that. She would assign that. So when I got to be an upperclassman, younger classmates were assigned to me. So I was good at it. And people started asking for me. They'd say, I want Denyce to do it. And she'd say, really? And they say, yeah, she's really good. I like the way she explains it. So who knew that she was not only giving me a life as a singer, but also as an educator?
Yes.
And that was one of her amazing gifts. So I was always parallel to my career, also in the business of developing and really examining voices too.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was a gift to her, from her.
It's beautiful. And just having watched you teach, because it's you were giving these students very critical feedback, but it was helping them to grow as performers. And it wasn't bashing them, but it was serious and it was sincere, but it was constructive, and they embraced it. And but I also loved the things that you could hear and you could find. I mean, obviously it's a long career that you could hear those beautiful nuances and help them, but you could tell that they just they knew what you were. I mean, they took it and did it and nailed it. It was amazing to watch.
And that's exciting to see.
Yes.
When you see on their faces the dawning of that understanding.
Yeah.
That is so gratifying.
It is.
I mean, I never thought, I think in this profession, you have to be incredibly myopic and just really focused on your own development. I have said this often, that I never thought I had enough room to be concerned with somebody else's path. But I have gotten as much, if not more, satisfaction from watching the success of my students than anything that's happened in my own career.
Do you feel, because I feel this way, I'm also in my 60s, and I feel like at this part of my career, I too love watching those aha moments when I'm teaching art retreats, when someone's painting something and they're frustrated or whatever, and then you just coax them a little bit and then they surprise themselves with what they create.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing better than watching that. And I also love watching how each student expresses themselves and figuring out the things that light them up. And much like what you were encouraging them today, they each have their individual style and way of performing and making it them and telling the story. And yeah, I think maybe when you get to this part in your journey of life, you've done all these other things. At least I feel this way, that you were competing and it was maybe ego driven. And now at this phase, it's more about giving back and being in service. And
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think, is that what the foundation and what you're leaning towards these days?
Yeah. But it wasn't contrived for me at all. It was it felt like a natural progression and a natural evolvement in my whole trajectory. Yeah. I mean, it's been one of the greatest gifts to my life has been working with them. And they feel, they're here in this space with me now. They feel like my children. It's going to make me cry.
Yeah. They're pretty. Well, I think it'll make me cry because as I was watching you and you were talking about their voices, but you were trying to pull out their soul.
Wow.
Like each one of them were unique. And you were saying to them, I need to hear you. And an artist every artist, we can all draw sunflowers and do it, but what makes you you? And you were telling them, like, yes, here's how you fine tune this, make this go up. But what you were really trying to get from them is, give me your soul, give me who you are, be in the moment. That's what I took away from that masterclass.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
Was amazing.
That's beautiful, Jamie.
And they did it.
They did it.
They did it.
Yeah.
They got it. They were thinking technically, I think. But really what you were saying is, give me you. I want you to be here.
That's beautiful. That is very touching. And particularly in a refined art form like classical music that's surrounded with a lot of tradition, a lot of convention.
Yes.
People are afraid to, we have a lot to sort of live up to, right? And there are lots of, in some ways, constriction around, there's a proper way to do it, right?
Right.
And so people don't know, as particularly young developing singers, that the thing that makes it uniquely beautiful is their souls,
Yes.
what their unique
Yes.
stories that nobody else has.
Right.
You know, we can all sing the same aria, but it's going to come through the lens of your experience, which is going to pass through your intellect over your heart, which is going to make that a very different interpretation from yours.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And the thing that you have to lean into is your individuality. That's the thing that is going to make the difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Your joys, your pains, all of it, and bring it forward in your art. And that's what you were encouraging them to do. And it was beautiful to watch that.
Thank you. And that young man said that his father, his father had just passed before coming here. Right. And he was thinking of that. Yeah. And so bringing all of that.
Bringing that forward. And that's a real, you could tell, even when he said that, he kind of held back. You could he's still guarded. It's still hard for him. I could tell, but yet if he can, when he's growing, but that's the teaching. And that's what Lori and I are both teachers. And to your point, we love watching that light just light up in a student and watch them just begin to shine. And there's no greater gift.
Let's take a quick minute and thank our amazing sponsors. Our podcast is proudly brought to you today by Jet Creative and Urban Stems. Jet Creative is a women-owned marketing firm committed to community and empowerment since 2013. Are you ready to rebloom and build a website or start a podcast? Visit jetcreative.com/podcast to kickstart your journey. They will help you bloom in ways you never imagined. And bonus, our listeners get an exclusive discount when you mention ReBloom. And a huge thanks to Urban Stems, your go-to and our go-to source for fresh, gorgeous bouquets and gifts delivered coast to coast. Use Bloom Big 20 and save 20% on your next order. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at ReBloom Podcast. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to you for joining us today.
So since we're a ReBloom and we talk about pivoting, I know that you are in the midst of a pivot and you have some new things happening. Can you talk about those?
Oh, quite a lot. Yes. Well, I would say that the teaching has been parallel to the career. So I see that as...
So it's not a big pivot. It's just...
Not from the teaching piece of it. I would say the leadership part of it is a part of a ReBloom, and the creation of the foundation is 100% a part of a ReBlooming. Absolutely. It was a dream I didn't know that I had. But that was also born out of my concern for my young people, for my students, and the responsibility that we have to not just sit at the piano, and I don't mean to say just in any sort of diminutive way, but to teach them how to sing well, but also to prepare them for a changing field. And I was really concerned with what happens when they leave this studio? What's the next step? You know, we can work on perfecting all of those things here, but if they can't manage and cope when they get out, have we failed them then?
Right.
And so, and what I was hearing from a lot of my young people were, the world changes quickly anyway because of technology and everything. And from the time that I started out and embarked on a career, I don't even recognize it as the same industry. It's completely different.
Yeah.
And the things that they have to face are completely different. You know, just as the young people, our own children have grown up in this world with 9/11, with COVID, with all these school shootings, with all these things that have happened. They've had to grow around a lot of heavy things that have shaped them and that will continue to shape them differently.
Right.
You know,
Right.
They will.
one of the things that's so beautiful about Chautauqua is seeing the kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Out
Yes.
on the little school bus, riding their tricycles and bicycles around.
Yeah.
And they can do that
Yes.
freely. And that's what we want. We all, I mean, childhood is so short.
So
I know.
short.
It's
I tell my
so
daughter
brief.
that.
It's
Yeah.
so brief. And then it sets up the rest of your life. Like all
Right.
the things that happened in those short years
Right.
will affect the individual that you become. And you want them to have those
Yeah.
years of just freedom and just, so that's really, really beautiful.
And it's also beautiful too, and this is such a special place, but there's so many events and things that happen outdoors. So even if the kids aren't going to the symphony or the opera, they're maybe walking past and they're hearing it.
That's
It's
right.
actually, they're not sitting in front of a screen. They're riding their bike past and they're like, wait a minute, what is that music? So they may not tap into it initially, but they're exposed to it and they see it all around
That's
them.
right. They're
And it's
living.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
much
yeah.
like what your mother did for
What
you
your
when
mother
you
did
were
for
a
you.
child. I think that's
Yes.
so. I'm going to share
Yeah.
that with my daughter. You need to have a writing night for
Yeah.
the boys.
Yeah.
Right.
I've taught my grandson to crochet, but I think
Oh, that's
all
wonderful.
of those other things
Life
that are
skills.
not related to a screen
That's
are
right.
so important. But back to your foundation.
Okay.
Let's set that up,
Because-
because that started in 2020. Help us to know how that came about.
I think it was coming about. I mean,
Okay.
it sort of got its legs and its structure in 2020. I think we've been setting it up for a while.
Okay.
I think that my students have been crafting it around me. When I look at some of the gaps of vulnerability that exist now in the industry, they would come in and tell me things. For example, I had this one student who was beautiful in every way. Beautiful girl, beautiful singer, beautiful student. She was doing her master's. She'd gotten to her second semester as a master's student, and she had not ever been chosen to be in the opera program.
Mm.
And I was furious, and I thought, you mean to tell me
Yeah.
she's going to graduate and we're calling that she is a master. We're saying she's a master at doing this, and she's never done it.
Wow.
I was
Wow.
furious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I called down to the opera department. I said, you're giving something to my kid if we have to make it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're going to do something. We have a responsibility to her, to her
Mhm.
parents, to the education that we are giving her. We cannot have her graduate calling her a master, and she's never been on the stage.
Oh
That's
my gosh.
ridiculous.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous.
I was
Yeah.
furious, but
That's
sometimes
failing
you
her.
got to get angry
You got to
Yeah.
in order for the change.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to see the gap. So what
Yeah.
did you see? And we talked about obviously music changing over the course of your career. What began to present itself to you with these young students that you said, I need to create a foundation? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to create a foundation. This is the Denyce Graves Foundation
Mhm.
for our listeners. And
Mhm.
tell us what you saw and the roots of that and how you...
Well, first of all, I said, we're not going to stand around and hope that somebody gives us a job.
Good.
We're not going to be
Yeah.
starving
No.
artists.
No.
We're not going to sit around praying and hoping that we get an opportunity. We're going to create those opportunities ourselves. You have some agency over what happens to you in your life.
Mhm.
And we're going to take the bull by the horns.
Yep.
And we're going to create our own opportunities. And here's what we're going to do. And so it started like that. But then there were some other things that happened. That was sort of the spark
Mhm.
that got me thinking differently about
Yeah.
the work that I was doing in the lives of these young people. I
Mhm.
started thinking differently about it. Like, I have a bigger responsibility than not only teaching them how to craft their instruments, but I have to prepare them in such a way that they can get out into this world and do something with their lives. And the first thing is to know that they have some say over what happens in their lives. That's the first thing. That's number one. And we're going to craft this thing together. So that was the first thing that happened. The other thing that happened that really caused, well, I said the other thing, there were about three, it was a perfect storm of a few things. That was one event.
Okay.
The next event was I had a student who was singing outside of what was formerly known as the National Negro Opera Company in Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
Okay. So this was during the pandemic. And I saw it on Instagram. I called her and I said, what are you doing? She said, oh, there's this the woman named Mary Cardwell Dawson who started this opera house for Black people. What was that? Mary Cardwell Dawson went to the New England Conservatory. She graduated in 1925. In 1925,
Wow.
as a Black woman, she was not going to be cast in the leading roles on the world's opera houses. So her response was, like I was telling my students, well, then I'll create my own opera house. And we were talking earlier about the HBCUs and the need for the HBCUs at a time when Black people were not allowed to go to the other universities. The response was, let's create our own university. So that's what she did. She said, I'm going to create my own opera company. So she created this opera company called the National Negro Opera Company. First of its kind, longest running, most successful, and run by a woman, which was huge in that time for a woman to be running her own and to be successful. She had chapters in Chicago, in Detroit, New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Pittsburgh, where she has the house. Anyway, I saw the students singing there. The house was dilapidated, falling down, columns missing, windows out, roof collapsed, all these things. So this was during COVID. So I got in touch with my students and I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Everybody's at home right now. The theaters are closed. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a project and everybody's going to sing an aria and online, and we're going to upload it with the hashtag Save the National Opera House. And we're going to bring attention to this opera house that this woman created that's collapsing. She built it for us. We should rebuild that house.
God,
so it's,
tears.
I know, isn't it fabulous?
Yeah.
So it started out, that's how it started. And then people started seeing like, what are you guys doing? I hear your students like, what is this thing? What are you talking about? Then the other prong to that was I started this online cooking show, right? Called Cooking with Denyce, because that's one of the things that I love to cook. One of the things that I love to do with my students is sometimes have them over at our farmhouse and go with an opportunity to go through the material, run through their arias, run through their audition material, that sort of thing. And then afterwards, I would cook. So I try to create that online because my kids, meaning my students, everybody was home. The singers were considered to be the super spreaders. All the theaters were shut down. And I was checking in with my students thinking, what are you doing and how are you doing and what's going to be our next move? So we all have to eat, right? So I try to create that online, go into their kitchens and while they're making dinner and just talk. What are you doing? Right. What did you do today? What are your plans for tomorrow? How are you going to do? And so while I was doing that cooking show, which was online, I was talking about this woman. Did you guys ever hear about this woman named Mary Cardwell Dawson who That started it. And people were saying, what are you talking about? And who is this woman? And blah, 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 blah. And while I was doing the cooking show, the foundation was getting stood up.
Wow.
Yeah.
It asked to be here.
Yeah.
It asked to be born.
Yeah.
And so it was formed with my students, with Simone, who's here with us in the space right now. Yeah. It was formed with my students on Zoom talking about we should do something about this house.
Yeah.
That's in Pittsburgh. We've got to do something to help rebuild this house. We have a responsibility to what this woman gave, her sacrifice of what that was all those many, many years ago, so that we can be on the stage doing this work. We have a responsibility to what she gave to us and what she gave to the world. Mm-hmm. And that's how it was born. So it's about bringing so the foundation is centered around social justice, American history, and the classical vocal arts, right? And it's about bringing into rightful prominence those great individuals who have contributed to our cultural fabric, but have been left out of the telling of the American story. So that's, and we've got 3 programs, and they all have the name Voices in them. We have one that's called Shared Voices, and that's the HBCU, the Historically Black Colleges and Universities, that we partner with conservatories. So oftentimes HBCUs have a great tradition of, you've heard of maybe the Fisk Jubilee singers, of having this great choirs and glee clubs. And some of the greatest voices that we've ever heard have come from HBCUs. Mm-hmm. If you look at the voice of, Robert McFerrin, who's the dad of Bobby McFerrin.
Oh, yes.
He was an opera singer. Oh. So after Marian Anderson made her, she was the first Black opera singer to make her debut at the Metropolitan Opera. Right after her debut was Robert McFerrin, Bobby McFerrin's dad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so So that's another voice. A great singer by the name of Jesse Norman was another one. An amazing singer by the name of Leontine Price was another one. These are household names, incredible giants and titans in the industry who got started at HBCUs, right? And so we take those talented individuals and we pair that with the rigor and the training that is often found in conservatories to train those wonderful voices and help nurture and guide and teach and mentor those young developing artists.
And make the connections for them that maybe are not afforded
Absolutely.
to them
Absolutely.
going the channel that they are.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, that's exactly right.
The idea of creating opportunity. And I think some people they think they have they have to have this big, perfect plan to do anything. And sometimes it just evolves out of starting something and you don't know where it's going to take you.
You're exactly right. That's exactly right. I've heard so many people say, just don't think about it. If you want to write, just write something now.
Exactly.
Just start. Just start. Because it's never going to, if we wait for it to be all the little pieces are in place.
Welcome to our podcast. That's
exactly. Yeah, we started when we had no idea what we were doing.
Exactly.
My husband goes, you guys are getting better. We're like,
good.
Yeah, we were really rough in the beginning.
Yeah.
But we hadn't, first of all, we were new friends, but we had never done it. I mean, podcasts are relatively new for most people, but people are like, just do it. And we are having the best time, but it's also helping, it's connecting, it's educating, it's doing all the things that we believe in, and it's growing. And that's what you're doing for these amazing young students too, and seeing this, helping them to see successes.
That's right.
and find their way to the big opera houses.
That's right.
And the connections and because it's changed. Everything's changed.
Oh yeah.
And helping them to navigate this new experience.
That's right.
Wow.
And to also discover what lies underneath that. Nobody starts out being a big opera singer. It starts out with just a voice.
Yeah.
And then to watch that voice bloom, right? And to grow into it's an amazing thing to behold.
Which is your story.
Yeah.
You started out a shy little girl behind your mama's back.
That's right.
And look at you now. So I told Jamie I wanted to ask this question just because I'm curious.
She's always curious.
I know.
Okay. Always curious. She's my curious friend.
Yeah. So we did talk about the foundation, which that was our focus, but you've had this long, incredible career. Are there one or two things that stand out that were just, I know you have a million, but are there one or two things that you've done that just, they're the most beautiful experiences you've had?
Oh, many.
Well, I know.
Many. I mean,
I've been
it's
a big question.
When she asked you that question, where did you go first?
The first thing I thought about was my singing at the National Cathedral after 9/11. That's the first thing I thought about.
We thought that.
We thought that.
And you know what was in my mind? No, this is embarrassing. This is so embarrassing.
No. Dish.
Come on, T.
When I was a little girl, I was certain I was going to marry Michael Jackson. I just knew it. And when I was singing that concert, I thought, I wonder if Michael Jackson is watching.
You know he is.
I mean,
I love that.
What an honor to be asked to do that, and what an emotional experience all in one. We'll also name drop because it's pretty impressive. You were friends with Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, yes.
I mean, what was she like?
Amazing.
Yeah.
And one of my students is here with us now, and she loved the opera.
Yes, she did. She spoke here too. She spoke at Chautauqua.
Oh, did she really?
She did. Yes.
She would often be a super, an extra in the opera, and so she loved.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love
she did
that.
it several times.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And so I don't know if I was doing something, but she met with my students twice to speak with them and about performing. And so to answer the question of what she was like, incredibly generous, warm, very soft-spoken, however. Yes. She was a tiny little, teacup.
She could have used your teaching. They mic'd her up good because she is tiny.
And you've got to lean in. She's really soft-spoken. But she could also be salty. Yeah, she was something. I mean, she was really amazing. So her and amazing people. I mean, at that performance at the National Cathedral, all the presidents were there, Ford and Carter and Clinton and the Bushes, and I sang for President Ford's funeral.
Wow.
And I've been singing for the presidents since President Carter.
Wow.
Yeah.
So sung for all of them.
And I love the fact that you did so much with PBS and for children. And so your teaching started, I mean, through your career, you've made that a part. And because opera is a different, I mean, it's a lot of people are not exposed to it, but by partnering with PBS, by partnering with Sesame Street, you're exposing so many young people to opera, which helps to educate them, which helps to bring opera into everybody's heart and home.
And the little kids are incredibly responsive.
Yeah.
They love it.
They love it.
They love it. When I was doing my apprenticeship with Houston Grand Opera, so oftentimes what happens, after you're finished with your education, we have what's called young artist programs. And so opera companies will engage a young artist to do secondary roles, maybe the chorus, that sort of thing. So you have a contract with that company for 2 or 3 years. I did that with Houston Grand Opera, and they would send me out on these educational outreach of exposing opera to the general public.
Yeah.
But they sent me to kindergartners all the time.
I love that.
Yeah, junior high school kids.
Yes.
And the response was always amazing. It's a question of education, but exposure.
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of Chautauqua. I'm actually looking at it right now. There's a wonderful picture that we love of my husband and his brother because they were in La Boheme as kids.
No.
They were the extras
No.
in the kids. And it's one of our favorite pictures because it's just a fun picture. But that's the beauty of this space. And we're so blessed to have you here this summer and introduce so many more people to opera and children and continue this mission of yours with the foundation. And so tell us, the foundation is the Hidden Voices and the Shared
Voices. And they're doing Bohème this season, by the way.
Oh,
so
okay.
you'll have to, your husband will have to go.
He will.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think he'll fit in the country.
He won't fit in the country. But we have 3 programs: Shared Voices, that's the HBCU, the Historically Black Colleges and Universities, and Conservatory Exchange Program. Shared Voice, that's Shared Voices. Hidden Voices is about creating works of art that tell the story of some of those left out or forgotten, artists. At the time of Mozart, at the time of Bach, Schubert, Schumann, there were women who were, composing alongside them. There were LGBTQ people composing right alongside them. There were Black people, men and women, composing alongside them, but we didn't learn about their works. So it's about creating works. They never got the credit.
Never got the credit.
The recognition. And some of these stories of an amazing triumph, we don't know anything about. So it's so that program celebrates that and creates works of art that tell those stories. So whether that's a play, whether it's an opera, whether those are books, whether those are documentaries. I think we shared one of the calendars with you.
Yes.
Note cards. We find all sorts of ways to tell those stories. We are in conversations now with Kwame Alexander about doing children, who is running the literary department here at Chautauqua, about doing children's books, about partnering with the foundation to do children's books and those sort of things. So that's Hidden Voices. And then Generational Voices is about emerging artists, those who the Shared Voices are the collegiate level. The Generational Voices are older students who have finished with their formal training, who have not yet embarked on a career. And so that bridge that happens, the foundation is that bridge of mentoring and shaping and preparing to launch those careers so that we don't, because in this profession, we have agents, but we don't have what Mary Cardwell Dawson was also an impresario. And that's someone who is looking and over the whole shape of the career. Someone who says, not now. Let's not do that now. Let's sing for this company. Let's sing for this conductor. Don't wear that dress. Let's work on these languages, that sort of thing. The agents book you, and that's if you're lucky. They will book you, but there's no one who's guiding the career that says yes to this and no to that. And a lot of times you have to say no. But in the beginning, when you're first getting out, the first thing you need to do is pay back your student loans often. And so people take all kinds of jobs, or perhaps they accept work that's not exactly right for their development right then and there.
Right.
And sometimes we can hear of these great talents, and then a year later they could be gone.
Right.
Right?
So
And that's
sad.
that is such a shame.
Yeah.
The work you're doing is so important, not only here in Chautauqua, but for all of these students, how blessed they are to have you start this foundation. And
Well,
Lori wants to
there
ask
was
one
a
other thing.
well,
What-
it's not a question. There's a phrase that when we were researching you that you used that I loved, and that's education is activism.
Mhm.
And I really love that statement, because you have to,
Yeah.
I think it's important, because I think there are lots of ways to be active. And I have said this a million times, that one of the ways that we do it, I think, is in a way that people can hear it. And I think it's important. I think it's not only important what you say, but how you say it. And you have to say it in the way that people can hear it and that they can receive it. There are lots of ways to be active. I know that when I yell at my children, they just know that I yelled.
they shut down.
They shut down.
Yeah.
And they can't hear and they can't receive.
Right.
So we want to do it through a lens that opens people up, that opens up their minds and open up their hearts so that they can receive. Right. I think it's important that we stop the judgmental mind. Right. And I think music is an avenue that can do that. When you hear something beautiful, you see something beautiful, you taste something wonderful. Right. All of those things stop. You just appreciate the beauty that's there.
Amen.
And so we do believe that educating is activism. That is
Yeah.
one way that you can be active, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Denyce, thank you for your time.
Oh,
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing information about the foundation.
I'm beyond words.
We're beyond words. It's
Aw.
this has been the most magical summer for me, meeting you, getting to know you,
Jamie.
and really opening my heart to opera, because my mother, and I shared this with you, my mother loved opera. I grew up listening to it on Saturdays. She would clean the house to opera.
Yeah.
And so I thought everybody did that.
Yeah.
And I listened to Carmen all the time. And
Is
I
that
know,
right?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And she was a big, big fan. But I always felt like I needed more education about it. And I feel like you are bringing that to us here at Chautauqua, and certainly helping your students to reach out to those who really need you too, and opening the world of opera to them and music to them. And it's so important.
It is so
And you're
important.
making these connections happen. And thank you for your beautiful you. Thank
Oh,
you.
well,
Thank you.
you fabulous gals. This is a wonderful project. I'm delighted to be a part of it. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you. And thank you for doing our very first live
Yeah,
podcast.
we're
all together. It's
usually,
kind of
I'm
fun.
usually in Kentucky, Jamie's in Ohio, but now we're all here around a
Right.
tiny little table.
Yeah, hoping the dog doesn't bark and Chautauqua doesn't make a lot of noise.
yeah.
But thank you all for listening to us today. And please take a look at Denyce's foundation. We will have all the links for you. Look her up on YouTube. Maybe we can cook with Denyce after this and just enjoy her beautiful, beautiful voice. It is something that everyone must hear. It has been a gift to us. We got to hear her final performance with an orchestra this summer. It gave us all chills. It was an amazing, amazing performance, and we are so blessed to have her, and I'm so certainly blessed to get to know her this summer. And so thank you, everyone. Peace, love, and ReBloom.
Life is too short not to follow your passions, so go out there and let your heart plant you where you are meant to be and grow your joy.
We will be right here sharing more incredible stories of reinvention with you. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode of ReBloom.
Until next time, I'm Jamie Jameson.
And I'm Lori Siebert.
Peace, love, and ReBloom, dear friends.